the algorithms, the information, how it is curated to each of us to exploit our online presence. And it's just really disturbing.
You, along those same lines, you declared racism a public health issue. Why did you decide to sort of boldly state that, and what was the response to you saying that?
Well, the response was different depending on the group.
Right, okay.
Well, one of the things that we were very intentional about doing when putting together our cabinet as well as the leaders in my executive office is making sure that there is real representation, and not tokenism, but empowered representation. And because of that, we're smarter and we're stronger and we're better educated. The COVID crisis, Dr. Jemele Hill is my chief medical executive. She's an African-American woman who is a ER doc. She was one of the first people in the country to look at the data and say there is a disparity for communities of color. We got to get this demographic data out there. We've got to do outreach to the Black community in particular. And that really designed a lot of our efforts. And it's because she was at the table and she had the experience and the lens that brought this to light. And I think as a nation, we've all benefited because Dr. Jemele Hill was at a table in an empowered position. Garland Gilchrist, our Lieutenant Governor, first African-American Lieutenant Governor in Michigan history, is the chair of our COVID Disparities Task Force. From that, we've got a much larger agenda coming together. So beyond COVID, we're getting to work addressing a lot of the systemic things that have contributed to disparate opportunity and outcomes. So there's a lot of different pieces to this, but it was that conversation that, it was very clear we have to declare that this is a public health crisis. Racism is, and it's woven into so many parts of our society that we have to recognize it so that we can fix it.
What would you say has been key in helping you understand things from a racial, and you mentioned systemic racism a few times. What has been key in helping you understand those issues?
I think the desire to learn and understand, the background that I have, growing up in Lansing, Michigan, that, I think those are pieces that have helped me understand where my experience stops and where I need to seek to understand and ask questions. And, I come to it, I think, with a background that helps me, but I also recognize I'm humble enough to know I don't have all the answers. I got to surround myself by people who are going to straight talk and who are going to make our administration better and more representative and more thoughtful and more sensitive and more strategic on all of these fronts.
As we, this year has felt like 20 years smashed into one, because on top of dealing with the pandemic, we are also dealing with, a racial reckoning in this country where we're having conversations that I don't ever recall us having as a nation in my life. What were those conversations like in Michigan? I could see some of it from afar. There were obviously some protesting that was happening there. But as your governor and watching this unfold in your own state, what's your perspective about what you saw happening in Michigan?
Well, I think that it's a long overdue moment, and there are a lot of horrible things that have contributed to this national conversation happening right now. Obviously the death of George Floyd, but there's certainly so many others. And in Michigan, I think that we've taken this seriously, that we've worked with community leaders, that we have moved forward in terms of our outreach and work around COVID has put us in maybe a better informed place so that our residents know that where our priorities are, where our values are, and know that we are going to continue to press forward in a thoughtful, inclusive way so that we actually address the contributing factors to what's going on in this country. So I'm proud of all of that. I recognize we all got a lot of work to do in this country. Michigan's no different in that regard. We maybe are in a stronger place because we are mindful and intentional about taking it on.
Uh, I guess someone in your position, I mean, to some degree, you're always sort of campaigning and, um, mindful of the fact that, if whatever office you seek, after that or as you rise, that, you're kind of always in campaign mode to some degree. Disinformation and propaganda is a real problem in this country. As a politician, how do you combat that when it feels like people are being sort of radicalized in a very different way than I've ever seen through social media, through news channels who are devoted specifically to a mindset? So how do you work against that?
That's a great question. I watched The Social Dilemma not long ago, and I don't know if you've seen it, but man, is it depressing. Uh, the algorithms, the information, how it is curated to each of us to exploit our online presence, and it's just really disturbing. And I am hopeful that at the national level, we will see some action in a Biden-Harris administration that really takes on kind of social media and educates the public. I I know that here at the state level, I mean, the sharing of information is really important. The being inclusive and thoughtful about it, but um, this is so pervasive and so problematic and so dangerous that it really is, I think, going to take a Biden-Harris administration to um, hold these businesses who are just profiting off of the continuous misinformation, um, to hold them accountable and to hold us all to a higher standard and to understand how do we address it. I don't have a great, easy solution here. It's very complicated and it's very distressing and it is urgent.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that because we're all in some various form of lockdown that people is giving people more time to absorb some of these things. Was there? Everybody knows that you were vetted for vice president. Did you allow yourself, or how much did you allow yourself to think about a lawn sign that said Biden Whitmer?
Well, you know what? We've been in this pandemic the whole time, so I don't even know if I processed it, to be honest.
Okay.
It was an honor, to be sure. And when the announcement was Kamala Harris, everyone in my household was thrilled. I can tell you that. She's phenomenal. And, I've told Joe Biden he needed to win this election, and I'm happy to do anything I can to help him do that. I'm thrilled he found a great running mate in Kamala Harris, and that I get to keep my job that I've always wanted, which is governor of Michigan, and have a new best friend in the White House. So it's all good.
Yeah, it did work out. However, it also gives you an idea of what's possible, right? And so has being vetted and going through that process, has it changed some of your political goals?
No.
No, okay.
No. No, you know what? I love Michigan. I got 3 generations of my family here. The thing I've always liked about state government is you're close enough to the people that you can see the benefit of your work, and that's something I really like. And I've never been really interested in going to Washington D.C. I know never say never, but I'm really happy here.
All right, because I'm gonna play this conversation back when I see she announces running for president, Gretchen Whitmer. I'll be like, now, did she say? Well, no, but it's, you said that, you hadn't originally thought about being governor, but as you go and you see what's possible, maybe there is, something else. I know the people in Michigan don't want to lose you necessarily, but nobody would blame you if you had some ambitions that were perhaps beyond Michigan.
Well, they say never, Jemele, but I can't imagine. I, I really do. I love it here in Michigan.
Um, it, to that end, there was I thought a curious story that came out about the people bringing articles of impeachment against you for. So which one of the 4 reactions did that get? The articles of impeachment.
Let's see. I was not glad.
Okay.
It's just silly. I know that they don't agree with every action that I've had to take. And certainly the Republicans in the legislature have their own political calculus that they're making. But, I'm not doing anything that many other governors aren't doing to try to save lives. And I'm not going to be bullied by the White House. I sure as heck am not going to be bullied by the State House.